Assalamu alaikum. I hope you're all well, in good health, and are staying safe throughout this pandemic. Today's program with Ihya Us Sunnah, we have decided to do something a little different. We are still doing a question and answer session, but we wanted to raise awareness on some hidden illnesses, in particular Crohn's disease, something which I have been through myself and currently have a stoma bag. So the plan today is, inshallah, to answer any questions that were sent in by you guys who are hopefully tuning in today. The aim is to raise awareness and most importantly talk about the Islamic perspective. Personally, I've not had the chance to fully go into the Islamic perspective of things, but after meeting our special guest today, Mufti Wajid Iqbal, I've been able to get a better understanding of what the Islamic perspective of what I'm going through is. So I'd like to first off start off by introducing Mufti Wajid Iqbal Sahab. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How are you doing, Mufti Sahab? You okay?
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Mufti Sahab, we've been sending quite a few questions, mashallah. They're all relating to Crohn's disease, some of the illnesses, and the stoma bag itself. Do you want to start off with the first question, inshallah? Is that okay?
Inshallah, that's fine, yes.
So having an illness where you're tested quite often, in the sense that you're going through physical pain, such as Crohn's disease, you can sometimes become spiritually weak. Now, in such cases, what would you suggest for a person? How could they maintain their spirituality and closeness to their deen?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Firstly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant a complete cure to all of those viewers that are suffering from Crohn's disease. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make this illness easy upon you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant you a shifa kamila, a complete cure. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow you to stay in the best of faith, in the strongest of faith, and in the best of health. In regards to your particular question, that when suffering from an illness, and particularly the Crohn's illness, and generally any illness for that matter, can actually bring down the spirituality of a person. But know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as the questioner said, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests. So some of those tests are physical tests that we may go through in this dunya. And part of those physical tests is that we become ill and our bodies deteriorate. We take on illnesses, and part of that is the Crohn's disease. So first of all, know that everything is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our decree, our fate is made by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is in His intrinsic knowledge. It is in the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and what occurs in reality does not go against the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So fate, the good of it and the bad of it, all of it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we entrust that with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is Alim and He is Hakim. He is all-knowing and He is wise. So He knows best as to why He gives us these tests. Now, as for the particular question, that when we are going through illnesses, then we sometimes come into a state of either what people will call low iman or a low spirituality state. Then firstly, know that our iman is what we call basit. It is singular, it is one. It does not have highs and lows. But it is the certainty within that iman that may be on a high or may be on a low. And then by that certainty, our spirituality can be on a high and it can be on a low. So how, when going through an illness, how can we, as Muslims, believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how can we maintain a spiritual high? I've answered this in the past. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not asking of you to have a spiritual high constantly, because then you would only know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in one way. Maybe, and that's through maybe His mercy. So therefore we need to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every manner that is capable for us to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Obviously it's possible to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Himself, but we have some ability to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or have carry some gnosis of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So therefore, this spiritual high and this spiritual low is spirituality itself. But if this by you mean that I don't have a connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a spirituality, if you have a spirituality, you have a connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So those spiritual highs and those spiritual lows, What you're calling a low is just by your emotion. But in reality, it's still a spiritual high, just on the other side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So even though we're saying spiritual high and a spiritual low, the reality of it is that both sides are spiritual highs, because you're recognizing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on both sides of this spectrum. But if it's a case of that we're lacking in our deen, in terms of our stamina, in being steadfast upon the deen, then this type of law is something that we need to bring on a high. So how do we do that? By connecting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Make zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And maybe the words are not correct, but the beauty of being ill is that you can lie down and just mention the name of Allah. Just say Allah, Allah, Allah. And you are in the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And even if the tongue does not work, then the heart is alive. Let the heart beat with the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with what you know best. However you feel that it brings you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then let that be. If it's by making zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, mentioning His name, then mention His name. If it's by reading your prayers, then pray your prayers. Meaning, whatever comes easy to you in that low state where you're not connecting with the deen as you were supposed to connect, or the way you used to connect, then at least bring yourself to the lowest form, and that is mentioning the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After that, start becoming steadfast upon it. Or more than that, look towards the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I mean, even if he cannot, a person reaches such a low state that he cannot even mention the name of Allah, finds it hard, come to such a low state, then look towards all the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. And there are many blessings to count. Many blessings to count. You may have an illness that you're going through, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant all of you shifa. Ameen. But maybe look towards all the good things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. And maybe good things that have come your way because of the illness.
Yeah.
Not those good things that was there before when you were healthy, but maybe other good things that came towards you through your illness. And then you recognize that blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then that connects you back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and allows you to say the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Look towards the Quran for inspiration. If you cannot even attend your prayer because of the low state the person is in, then maybe pick up the Quran, pick up the translation of the Quran. You will find your answer within the Quran. You will find your answer to lift your iman, to lift your certainty within iman, to lift your spirituality and remove your laziness. So look towards the Quran. Secondly, maybe the people that are around you. Sometimes in an illness we tend to mope, if you want to use this word, as in tell our sad story and relay our sad story to others. But the beauty of illness as Muslims is that we actually praise our illness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we look at the other way.
Yeah.
Why? Because it is a state in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts our du'as. So therefore, we don't seek prayers from the other person. Now, you make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cures me. No. The visitor of yours, the one who comes to visit you as you being the sick person, it is actually a sunnah for the visitor to ask the sick person that make dua for us. Why? Because it is you that is in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not us. So therefore, you look towards these blessings that are around you. And secondly, look towards positive people. Don't be around people that will always bring you down. As in, they'll talk about your illness, but then, and talking is good. Sometimes a person needs to talk, but the person you're talking to should be that person who is not on the same, maybe in the same state as you. Because the person that you need to speak to is the one that's going to revive you. He's going to bring your spirituality up. So therefore, he brings it up and tells you things that will bring your spirituality into a higher state. So talking to positive people as opposed to negative people. Keeping around positive people as opposed to negative people. And when you become positive yourself, then you go out and to remain within this positivity. How do you remain in this positivity? By going out and helping those who are in the state of negativity. Those people whose state is bringing them down, you seek them out and you help them. It allows you to stay in a positive state also. So always keeping around positive people, even if it means by helping others that may not be positive, but not taking advice from negative people.
Yeah.
So this will help you bring your spirituality. This will help you bring your own state into a high state and allow you to reconnect with the deen of Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam. And part, even though I mentioned within there that helping others, part of this, if you cannot help others within who are suffering from the same illness, then at least help others in terms of charity. Give charity yourself. If you can't help by giving charity yourself, then help those who give charity. Right? Meaning if you work for a charity like the one that you spoke of, maybe helping them in what they need to do. This brings a positivity inside a person and naturally will allow him to have a spiritual high, will naturally allow his state to be in a higher state and allow him to move further, help others so that he feels good as well and he connects with the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is how we have formed. There are various other ways we can speak of in this regards, but I think it's sufficient for those who ask the question in regards to how they can take a spiritual high and take a spiritual higher state in spirituality.
Thank you for that, Mufti Saab. The next question we've got is, are illnesses a punishment from God? I think sometimes there's some perception that people have that they've been given an illness by God as a punishment. Is that true? Is that something we believe in Islam?
Like I said in the beginning, that everything is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Hakim, He is wise, and His wisdom is within everything, even though we may not understand what that wisdom is. So therefore, the Islamic position on illnesses for Muslims is that they're not exactly a punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, they can be a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but a test for a Muslim to gain greater heights. Like we said earlier on, that a Muslim may go through an illness, but he's in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and according to one narration, actually his sins are being forgiven. By his illness, his sins are being forgiven. So therefore, automatically he's gaining higher stations. So higher spirituality and higher stations by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now if you look at it in this light, is it a punishment or is it actually a blessing from God? It's a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So therefore, we don't need to look at this in the manner that it is a punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rather, it is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hence why it is a sunnah that when you visit the sick, you ask the sick person to make dua for you, for he is in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, be it Muslim or non-Muslim. Be it Muslim or non-Muslim.
I think one big thing you've touched on there is looking at your blessings. It's quite hard to do that sometimes, but as you said, worshipping and finding what's right for you in regards to how you worship and praise your Lord, that's quite important. So, we need to look at our blessings. It's a big thing you've touched on.
And look towards the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In Surah Al-Zumar, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that don't despair from Allah's mercy. So therefore, when we're told not to despair from Allah, meaning don't become hopeless from His mercy. His mercy is always around you. You may not understand where His mercy is, or you may not understand why your life is the way it is. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen for it to be in that manner. So therefore, have trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and let it be. And you be steadfast upon the religion, have faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, have trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you will see after this difficult time, the rewards will be immense, and so immense that you will not be able to handle the reward that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you. Maybe Allah rewards you in this world, or He rewards you in the hereafter. But one way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you.
That actually links in with the next question, which was, would He say the suffering with the illness, whatever illness it might be, does that class as a reward for the next life for us, or as Muslims?
Yes, like I said, that having an illness is also a means for a person's sins to be forgiven. So therefore, when his sins are being forgiven, then all of his deeds are stored. So when he resurrects on the day of judgment, he will find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forgiven all of his sins, and he will find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted him his rewards. So therefore, it's a blessing within itself, which we sometimes don't see, because sometimes we become materialistic and we just see the benefit. We just see the benefit. So there are many hidden blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed even in our illnesses as to why we go through them. Yes.
Subhanallah.
But ultimately it comes down to that a person who is ill, whatever illness he has, it ultimately comes to that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is granting you greater heights and greater stations in the hereafter.
SubhanAllah. I think we're quite lucky to have such a big blessing upon us. Moving on to the next question, Mufti Sahib, is the next few questions talk more about the stoma bag. So someone has asked, with the bag, how does one perform Isthinja? What is the correct method on this?
So Isthinja is when a person, if a healthy person was to go towards to use the bathroom, then he would wash himself after excreting. So Isthinja would be necessary if there is any impurity on the body. It should be removed with water. But in this case, because of the stoma bag, which is, I believe, is attached to the stomach.
Yeah.
Because of this, a person, depending on I'm guessing here that those who suffer from Crohn's disease would differ in terms of if some of them would go to the bathroom and some of them may not go to the bathroom because of the bag. So here I would say that if they do use the bathroom and they excrete in the natural way, then in this case Isthinja would be necessary in that regards, meaning if there is impurity on your body, then that needs to be removed. Isthinja would be made in that way. But if somebody does not have this need to go towards the bathroom, but rather it all appears in the stoma bag, then in this case that specific area where naturally the stool appears from, that will not need to be cleaned because it's already clean.
Okay.
So therefore Isthinja does not need to be made. I'm not sure in regards to how that stoma bag is connected, or if impurity would come onto a person's own body from how it's attached to your own body.
That varies, as long as you've got the right kind of stuff attached to it, you can get all sorts of things that come with it now, accessories. So the chances of it touching your skin or going on your skin can be quite low, but that varies again from person to person.
So we'll say just for argument's sake, we'll say if it does come onto your body, then it simply just needs to be washed away or wiped away. So meaning whatever means to clean it.
Yeah.
And that'll be your Isthinja if you like, inshallah.
Would they need to actually take the bag off, or can they just empty it, or?
It's best to, if, for example, I think you'll ask one of those questions. I'm guessing you're going to ask one of those questions in regards to if a person is entering the masjid, or if he wants to pray, then should he empty the bag? Then yes, he should empty the bag at that point.
Okay.
Yes, and then at that point he can wash that area if he can, with ease, just to make sure that no impurity is on his body.
Okay.
So that should be a given in this case. But if he's not changing his bag, for example, or if he's not emptying his bag out and he has no need to remove it, and the body is clean, then it's fine. But I just clarify one thing as well. Maybe somebody's asked that they may be thinking that Isthinja is a necessary act for Wudhu. So these two are separate things.
Okay.
Yes. Meaning in Crohn's, the way you mentioned it, the reality is if they're not passing through the natural way and there's no impurity falling onto the body, then in this case, they don't have a need for Isthinja. They can just go straight and make Wudhu.
Okay. Whether that's getting collected in the bag, or
if it's getting collected in the bag, it will say that you remove the impurity from the bag. But Isthinja is an act of cleaning the impurity from your body.
Right.
So if there is no impurity on your body, then there's no need for Isthinja in this case. But the confusion sometimes comes from people thinking that Isthinja is needed for Wudhu, meaning I need to wash that specific area for me to make Wudhu. You don't have to.
Right. Okay.
They're two different things. Yes. If you have impurities on your body, then you cannot begin making Wudhu without removing the impurity. Yes. But if there is no impurity in your body, then you can start Wudhu.
Right. Okay.
For example, people sometimes believe that if a person breaks wind, he's broken his Wudhu, hasn't he? But then they believe that they need to go and make Isthinja before they make Wudhu, because they believe that Isthinja is part of Wudhu. It's not.
Right. Okay.
So breaking wind does not put impurities upon your body. Breaking wind does not place impurities upon your body. So therefore, there's no need to go to the bathroom. He can just go and make Wudhu. So by that we can take it that in the Crohn's illness, if a person has no need to go to the bathroom because he has a stoma bag and everything is collected in the stoma bag and there's no impurities on his body, therefore you can just go and make Wudhu. empty the bag first
Yeah.
and go and make wudu.
Right, okay.
Inshallah.
That's fine. Jazakallah khair, Mufti Sahab. Next question is entering the masjid with the bag, with the stoma bag. Is it allowed? Should people refrain from doing it, or what's the Islamic?
It depends on this, the security of that bag. From what I've spoken to you previously, is that it's mostly secure.
Yeah.
There's no chance of it leaking. There may be a slim chance, but the majority chance is that it will not leak. But nevertheless, with that, I would say it's still permissible for you to enter the masjid. But nevertheless, the etiquette of the masjid is that impurity should not be taken into the masjid. So therefore, you should empty the bag out before attending the masjid.
Okay.
So empty it, attend the masjid. Then if whilst you're in the masjid, and then if it fills, is fine.
Right. Okay.
You don't have to rush out to empty it again, because you just be constantly back and forth. You stay in the masjid, do whatever you have to do in the masjid. Then once you leave, you leave, and then whenever you want to change it, you can, inshallah.
That's fine. Next question is, Mufti Sahab, how long would wudu be valid for once you've made it? So if, for example, if someone was to read Zohar namaz, Asr follows on not too long after, would the wudu be valid for both their prayers, or is it just for one, or how does it work?
So in this situation, because the stoma bag is connected straight to your stomach or the intestines, it can constantly leak. So therefore, we class this person as an excused person.
Okay.
For this particular reason. Yes, that is either his urine or his stool, however it is connected. So therefore, this person will be excused in this reason. This will not break his wudu in terms of one prayer time.
Okay.
But once the prayer time has finished, his wudu will break. So therefore, he should perform wudu for every single salah. And that's how we'll do it, inshallah.
That's fine, inshallah. Next question is, during the month of Ramadan, a lot of people cannot fast due to the illness. Dehydration is a big issue. That's just a side effect of the illness itself, especially with the stoma. So what do you suggest for some people if a specialist has said, it's best that you don't fast? Sometimes you can feel a bit left out. So what do you suggest? What do they do?
Before I come to that question, let me just add something onto the previous question. So when I said for every salah, so when you're in a prayer time, like Zohar, we class that as one salah, so one prayer. So for example, if he makes wudu for that one salah, so he can pray his sunnahs, he can pray his fard, he can pray his nafil, and do whatever he likes, read Quran, anything, with that one wudu. But once that prayer time finishes, that's when his wudu will break. Then he'll make a new wudu for the next prayer time, and he can do whatever he likes with that wudu in that prayer time. Yes, just in case somebody thought I meant one salah, not just one salah, he can actually do the Aqsa worship within that. It's just for that one prayer time. Okay. So in regards to this question, that some people with this illness may not be able to fast, or they've been recommended not to fast because it can deteriorate their health. In terms of dehydration, and then it can lead to other things, I believe. Yeah. So therefore, I would say that if a doctor understands this, the importance of fasting in the month of Ramadan, after he understands that, and then he also understands the illness, we expect him to understand the illness itself. Therefore, putting both together, we can say that this is then an actual opinion, to say that, an overwhelming opinion to say that such a person should not fast in the month of Ramadan. He is excused, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has excused him. Who are we to say that he's not excused? Okay. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has stated in the Quran that the one who is traveling or the one who is ill, can make up the fast on another day. But in this case, if this is a lengthy illness, meaning he may, most likely it is that you're not going to recover from this.
So it's an illness that is for your life.
Really. It's for your life. So therefore, he will never fast in this case. So therefore, he can pay a fidya in this case. So there's no chance of him making qada.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, if there is a slim chance, meaning if the doctor says that maybe in winter you can fast, and that may be easy for you, therefore he can make the qada, inshallah. But if that's also a no-go, as in doctor say no, completely you cannot fast, then in that case just pay the fidya for the month of Ramadan.
Oh, that's fine, inshallah. Just touching on that question in a bit more detail, like for some people they might feel left out during Ramadan. Then, obviously, for us as Muslims, fasting is quite important.
So what we do here is that, in terms of their own health, so if they have to eat, then they eat in a seclusion, if you like, meaning away from people. But in terms of being amongst people and abstaining from food, then they should abstain from food.
Okay.
So if they're amongst people, then stay away from food. But if because of the illness they have to eat, then maybe separate from others and then eat, inshallah. Okay. But in terms of feeling left out, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has included you in.
Okay.
When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has excused you, then you're included, aren't you? Sayyidina Usman Ghani radiallahu ta'ala anhu didn't attend the battle of Badr. The Prophet excused him from attending the battle of Badr because he was attending to the daughter of the Prophet, which was his wife. Yes? The daughter of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she was ill. But yet the Prophet excused him, but when he came enlisting the name of the warriors of Badr, and the warriors of Badr are the foremost within Islam, meaning they have the greatest rank within the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sayyidina Usman Ghani was included in them. So even though he's excused, he's still included.
SubhanAllah.
So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has excused you from fasting, but He's still granting you the blessings of Ramadan. You're eating in the month of Ramadan, and also you're seeking the blessings of Ramadan. So therefore, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you this honor and this blessing, then take it, inshallah.
What other acts of worship would you recommend throughout Ramadan and just overall the year as well, if fasting is not possible for such people?
You got the Taraweeh prayer. And with the Taraweeh prayer, depending on the condition of the person, if you can stand, then stand, and you can pray Taraweeh prayer sitting as well. So sit down if you have to. If you can't make sajda because of maybe the bag and how it affects a person, then pray on a chair. Read the Quran. The Ramadan is the month of the Quran, meaning this illness may not stop you from doing acts that other people are also making.
Mm-hmm.
So you can actually do what other people are doing with the blessing that you don't have to fast. That's a blessing also. Don't take it that others are seeking the blessings of the month of Ramadan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has excused you, and it's down to your intentions now. Meaning, if you had this intention that, oh Allah, if I was healthy, I would fast. You may even find on the day of judgment that even though you didn't fast, but you had the intention that, oh Allah, if I was healthy, I would fast. You might find on the day of judgment that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you the same amount of reward in the month of Ramadan, the same amount of reward of those people who have been fasting. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards intentions also. And we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards us for our pious intentions. If we act upon it, He doubles the reward. So you might find that on the day of judgment, just for your intention, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards you.
That's fine, Mufti Sahib. Thank you. Next question is, Mufti Sahib, what do we do with regards to being put down to some extent? I think there's a massive stigma that I've actually faced myself as well. I think is lack of understanding and awareness, but for some people they sometimes can go out their way to make you feel quite low. They can target you in certain aspects as well. What do we suggest for such people? What does Islam say about putting others down because of their illness?
Anything which harms another Muslim is haram.
Okay.
And that is either physically or mentally. So putting others down is in a mental form. So words harm another person. Yes, words harm another person, and a true Muslim is that person who another Muslim is protected by his hand and his tongue.
Mm-hmm.
That is a true Muslim. So therefore we don't hurt others. We don't make fun of others. We don't make fun of illnesses. We don't make fun of mental illnesses. So therefore we need to highlight this because it becomes common. So this is completely haram, and this is not the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, rather not the way of any Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So illnesses are from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it's not there for us to put those who are ill down. So therefore whoever is making these acts should seek repentance to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
For any of our viewers that are not Muslim, what is the term and what is the meaning of haram for some of them?
It is prohibited to put others down.
Okay.
It is prohibited to harm others or say words which actually harm others. So for example, if that is to say something, even though the person does not react to it within Islam, if it hurts him within his own heart,
Mm-hmm.
meaning if a person said one word to another person, but that person had taken it, but it really hurt him within his heart, this second person has the right on the day of judgment to hold the first person to account for what he did. Yes. So therefore, and we have also that when you swear at others,
Mm-hmm.
when you demean others, then they, so all the good deeds that they have done, they all come into your account. So therefore, this meaning it highlights that it shouldn't be done.
Okay.
It's like saying that if I say something to you in a bad manner, then all my bank account will be transferred to you.
Okay.
Would I like it? No. So therefore, it's a deterrence for me that I shouldn't say bad things to others. I shouldn't put other people down. This is not part of our religion. And yes, it can be because of lack of understanding or lack of knowing what the illness is. So therefore, we have a duty to educate our people, those around us, of what certain illnesses are.
Mm-hmm.
We may or may not fully understand them, but we have to understand that it is an illness and people suffer from them. And we cannot expect everybody to be like us. And this is the problem in society, that we analyze society by the way we are.
Mm-hmm.
We expect everybody to be the way we are. Meaning, if I am me, then I look at the world as me. If I can write correctly, then I expect everybody to write correctly. If I can speak properly, then I expect everybody to speak properly. It's not in this manner. If somebody is a builder, then he can't expect the whole world to be a builder. If one person is a scholar, he can't expect every single person to be a scholar. So this is maybe what's wrong with society, that we always analyze the rest of the world by our standard.
Okay.
But that's not how the world works. We should see people for who they are and how they are, and we should judge people by the way they are,
Mm-hmm.
not by the way we want them to be.
Right. Okay.
Yes? So this is, when I say that we should judge people, I mean in terms of knowing them, their personality, to say they are nice or I should stay away from them, just by the way they are. But not judge them in the manner that we totally disregard their feelings. Yes, we should still have that tolerance and respect for one another.
Inshallah. Next question, Mufti Sahib, is blood discharge is common for people with inflammatory bowel disease, which can cover Crohn's and colitis. In such cases, what's the situation with wudu? Is it, how long will that last? Sometimes it happens unknowingly. You don't always realize that it's actually happened. So imagine if someone's praying.
So it comes into the bag.
No. So for people who may be without the bag,
Okay.
some people with the bag can also have discharge as well. So would their wuzu be permissible throughout that namaz, whether it happens during the prayer or?
So if it's constant,
Yeah.
then they are excused. If it's constant, then they are excused, and they just make wudu for every single salah, even if they are bleeding. So if it's very, very common
Okay.
that they can't go an hour without bleeding,
Okay.
then in that case they are excused. Yes.
Okay.
Just make wudu and pray your salah even if you are bleeding.
Well, that's fine, inshallah. Mufti Sahib, last question is, during prayer time or entering the masjid, you can sometimes feel impure because of what you have. What would you suggest? How can one overcome such feelings? How can we feel worthy enough to stand before God? This is something which I've experienced myself, having the bag. You can sometimes feel as though you're not able to stand before God.
So first we'll take practical steps.
Mm-hmm.
So the practical steps were emptying the bag. Practical step is cleaning the area that where the bag is attached. So these practical steps will be taken. Wudu, obviously. But even after that, if you feel impure, then you have to personally analyze that where you feel impure. How do you feel impure? Is it because of the bag itself, that you knowing that it should refill? Then in this case, now it's not more of a physical thing. Now it's more of a mental. So therefore, in this case, when you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has excused you and you can be in the masjid, then have that trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So most of this comes into the trust of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And secondly, I would say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put you in that position.
Yeah.
He created the fate, didn't he?
Ji.
So he created this for you. Then have trust within him that he wanted to see me with this bag. So therefore I stand before him. So when he wants to see me in this state, then I will stand in this state in front of him. because he wants to see me in this. I've taken every aspect to fulfill all the requirements that he has asked of me in terms of purity, that the religion asks of you in terms of purity. I have taken all of those steps. Now, if it's just the case that I'm wearing a bag, which you know the bag is pure now as well, because you've cleaned it. So therefore, knowing that that bag is clean, now is more a case of mental. Now say to yourself that I'm standing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to have me in this state before Him. Yes. And Allah is pure and He only accepts what's pure. So therefore, because He's pure, He's called you to His court, and nothing enters His court except those who are pure. Therefore, meaning you counsel yourself in this in this manner, inshallah.
I think we've covered a lot of how beautiful our religion is, and how much we will be forgiven for what we have and how blessed we are. I know it's hard sometimes for some of our viewers to see the blessings and how Allah has blessed us with so much, but I think today, hopefully, we've learned quite a lot between us. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you, Mufti Sahab. You've been absolutely great help. This was something which I didn't mind. I think I've had the opportunity to speak to you myself so many times. Not everyone has access to the right people, so I just thought it'd be good to get.
Yes, inshallah, maybe when the coronavirus and the lockdown opens up and we come back to somewhat of normality that we can think of now, we can have all the brothers and sisters in a gathering, and they can ask their live questions directly to me, and inshallah we can answer them for them. That could be something in the future for them, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair, Mufti Sahab. Thank you so much. I'll also like to thank you all for tuning in. Hosting is not my skill, but I'm hoping I've managed to do some justice. Once again, a big thank you to Ihya Us Sunnah for allowing us to do this, and Crohn's and Colitis UK for supporting us. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.